If you have chosen to do a scientific project, then an excellent part of this is that there are many, many, many resources and experts available to help you. So this video is going to guide you through the resources that are available, how you can do your own experiments, and how you can contact experts. So here I've put as number one factor to consider, consult experts. You can really waste a long time doing lots of background research that an expert can cover with you in a few minutes, and they're generally very happy to help you. So in the links to resources section in the folio, which a previous video went through, there are lots of lists of experts who can help. So Directory of Research Areas for Experts has got a whole list of people there, the SA community. So I'll just run through a couple of those here. So the South Australian, the SA directory. So say, for example, I was interested in looking at something to do with traumatic brain injury in children. So in South Australia, I can look in the health and disability section, and I might look in family and child health, or I might look at rehabilitation medical. So if I click on that, you can see it gives me a whole list of places with the contact details. And when you're thinking of contacting someone, I really recommend you ring, because speaking to someone is always a lot more powerful than just pinging off an email that most likely will not get answered. So there's particular Indigenous health services, for example, Repat Hospital. So already I've got lots of places that I can contact just from that list. So that's the first thing to consider there. If we go back to the list here, I've put choose your sources wisely. So generally, if you're doing a scientific project, your sources will need to be current. So you can refine your search to the last few years, depending on the research question. So there's lots of resources here available to you. I'll go through some of these here. So going back to the library page, just to remind you, there are links to JSTOR, EBSCOhost, Explorer, ClickView even. All of these are very useful for scientific projects. Even the Conversation, which gives you that controversial sort of public opinion view, and also Spinny Press. So I'll just talk you through a few of those here now. So JSTOR, there's my JSTOR link. So I've already put in traumatic brain injury treatment. Now this is going to throw up thousands and thousands of search results, 44,147, way too many for me to look through. So what I should have done at the start is just gone straight to an advanced search. So I can put in there that I want to look up traumatic brain injury, and I want it to be children, and I want it to be vehicle accidents. So, and then I might only be interested in the ones which I can read and download or read online only. I don't want to buy anything. So I'll put read and download. And then I'm interested in articles, books and reviews, but I want it to be quite up to date. So I'm going to say 2008 to the present, 2017. I only want it to be in English, and then I can further narrow it down. So if I want to, things like classical studies, I'm not going to be very interested in that, but I'll do the search and see what it comes up with before I think about narrowing down to particular journals. So now I've got down from 44,000 whatever to 39. So then I can look through and see these look like journals. They're open access, so it means I can download it. But I may need to do a little bit more research to see if I can get something that is particularly useful to the area I'm looking at. So that's JSTOR, very useful. Explorer, which is also linked from the Scotch Library page, is also useful. And something that is very useful about it is this predictive text. So I know that they've got things on traumatic brain injury in children because there it is listed. So I'm going to search for that. And this has 372. And again, I can refine the results. So at the moment, I've got only full text, but I'm going back to 1975, too long. So I'm going to make that a bit shorter. 2005 is better. And that's reduced it marginally, not much. And I might think I only want academic journals. So that's reduced it to 38, which is excellent. And then I can look through and see, oh, this looks interesting, long-term outcomes of traumatic brain injury in early childhood. And I can click on that and read it. So I've got the full text there. And something that's also very useful about having an article like this is that you can go to their reference list and perhaps find authors, research that's been done. At the end, there's all of their references. So you might look and find something that's particularly useful, and then you can search for that article in itself. In the past, students have even contacted the authors of articles that they've used. So you may search for the details of Audrey McKinlay, Australian Psychological Society, and you may be able to get some first-hand information from her. So don't be shy about contacting people. Refer to the video on experts about how to do this. Another useful link is ClickView, and this is good for documentaries giving you background information. So there's the library, which has got everything that we've got in the school, but to widen the area that you can look at, the number of videos you can look in Exchange. So these are videos put on by anyone in Australia. So I can look up traumatic brain injury. This is obviously not going to be as specific as the journal articles, but here I have something about the brain that might give me some background information, injuries to do with sports. So, you know, it's hit and miss really with this. You may find a documentary that's really useful. So that's ClickView. Now, the other one that I was talking about is the UniSA link. So back to the links to resources page. Sorry, here. List of areas of research that can be helped with. So that will take you to this page. So for my project, I'm interested in something to do with health, and then I can just have a look and see whether any of these are related, and they're not. So that's unfortunate for my choice. Biology, sustainability, and the environment, no. But if you're in the first stages of trying to think of the kind of project you should do, then this is a good place to have a look. Medline Plus, so that's on the link, the health and wellbeing sites. So if I go to the health and wellbeing sites, I can look through and see if there's anything related to my area of interest. So traumatic brain injury, probably the Medline Plus is going to be the most useful. Mayo Clinic may give me something. So if I search here, traumatic brain injury, then we can see what comes up. And again, 847 sources. I might think, well, this all looks very general. Maybe I might look at the videos, or here's something about children, discharge, concussion. So there may be something useful there as well. So in terms of finding resources for your scientific projects, these are the most useful. University of Adelaide will give you those high level academic sources, and public libraries of SA, you can look in virtually any library in South Australia with those. So back to the advice here. So that was choose your sources wisely. So you can also use Google Scholar, but that can give you lots of sources that you might not be able to get the full text for. Now, something which I really recommend before you hone your question down too much is to do some detailed background research. So, traumatic brain injury in children, I may not know much about it, and I really need to know the research that's out there so that my question can be specific and to see whether my question is realistic. This is where experts can also help you. They can say, well, actually, your question is way too big. That's almost a PhD. So you can use them in that way as well. Now, obviously, for traumatic brain injury in children, I'm not going to be able to do an experiment. But if you do come up with a question where you can use the scientific method that you've used in science to design your experiment properly. So if you were looking at different fertilizers and the effect on growth of lettuce, then you can set your hypothesis. You can think, okay, what fertilizers am I going to use? The independent variable. What am I going to measure about the lettuces? The dependent variable. What variables need to be the same? I'll do a risk assessment. So just as we do in science all the time, going through and doing an experiment, really, really useful first-hand data. And then think ahead to how you'll present your information. Are you going to do it just as a scientific report using an abstract, introduction, methods, results, discussion? Are you going to produce a website that has a literature review, results of your experiment, how you can apply the results? Are you going to make a documentary? Be creative. Even though it's scientific, it doesn't always have to be written. And then also learning the terminology of the field correctly. You also need to make sure that you are defining your terms well for someone who doesn't know the field. So you might make a glossary of terms, and that's part of your project. So these projects have used a variety of methods. They're all scientifically based. Some have used experiments. So the exercise and mood one, this girl did some experiments on exercise and how it affected those things, mood in particular. This student looked at different ways of modifying water flow in his aquarium. And this student worked with a lab in reproductive medicine to do an experiment on mice using omega-3 fatty acids. So it depends what equipment you have, who you have contact with, etc. So the rest of these have used a variety of sources. This is one about animals, a veterinary focus. This is one about the environment. This is a more theoretical one about artificial intelligence. Does it pose a risk to the human race? This one is a medical one. And then, like I said, this is combining research into animals with a medical application. So scientific projects can be highly successful, and they really do lend themselves to making many contacts with experts. And I encourage you again to look at that list of mentors that we have available for you. Okay, thank you.